In honor of Valentine's Day, here is my own little tribute to romance, relationships, and love. This is Jimmy Steller's top 5 couples in film. Number 5. E. Edward Gray and Lee Holloway from Secretary. Secretary was a film whose basic message was that a BDSM-style relationship between two consenting adults is perfectly acceptable. In fact, when I first heard about 50 Shades of Grey, I thought it was a ripoff of this movie. Both feature a young woman with BDSM interests meeting an older man in a position of power who secretly harbors that same passion. Or so it seems to me from what I've been told about 50 Shades of Grey. Secretary allows these two eccentrics to bond over their similar fetish, as well as providing interesting characters. E. Edward is the dominant one, but he's hampered by a paradoxical self-loathing. However, he recognizes a similar self-loathing in Lee Holloway. Despite being the submissive one, she possesses a strength of character that allows her to reach past E. Edward's insecurity. Together they come to an understanding which allows them to live a happier life with each other. Just like with a few of the other people on this list, E. Edward and Lee both have very outlandish characters, but there's also something that's very grounded to them, and so it allows for us to enjoy them and also identify with them in interesting ways. Number 4. Stephen and Philip from I Love You, Philip Morris. Yes, these two make the list for me, even though they're technically based on real-life people. Philip Morris is the soft-spoken, naive young man who catches the eye of Stephen Russell. Stephen is a white-collar criminal. He's selfish, he's crooked, and hopelessly in love with Philip. And honestly, this passion for Philip is his saving grace as a character. Stephen breaks an amazing amount of laws just to be with the man he loves more than anyone else in the world. Just like the audience, Philip manages to see the genuine compassion that Stephen has for him. And so, even when time after time and again Stephen gets him in trouble, he can't help but give him one more chance. Thanks to their actors, the scenes of intimacy between Philip and Stephen feel very convincing and compassionate. They snuggle, they bicker, they laugh, and they cry the way a true couple does. What also works is that the movie isn't just about the fact that they're gay. As the movie goes on, that fact is pushed into the background as we focus instead on who these two people actually are. And in a world where 99 out of 100 movies are still about the heterosexual normative couple, movies like I Love You, Philip Morris show that there's a chance for other films to be made about love. It's a hilarious yet heartwarming take on a real-life romance that took place in front of and behind bars. Number 3. Justin and Melissa from Sunlight Jr. Of all the relationships on this list, Justin and Melissa's relationship is by far the most realistic. They're a couple who barely make ends meet financially, especially with Justin being alcoholic and in a wheelchair, and Melissa discovering that she's pregnant. The film shows their happiness at the child on the way, but also show how much more strained their lives are because of it. The film seems to throw obstacle after obstacle against them, but when you get down to it, it's really just the slog of ordinary life, day by day. And I already liked these characters a lot, but the real hardship which takes its toll on these two is what helps make their happiness feel earned. They go through hell, but still find time to be content with each other. And they both go to extreme lengths to help each other, no matter how much they argue and let things get in the way. The movie itself isn't really a masterpiece, except where these two and their relationship are concerned. It's painfully realistic, which makes it all the more effective. Number 2. Leia and Han Solo from the Star Wars trilogy. I had to go with this classic pair-up. Leia and Han Solo are among the most famous couples in film history, and for good reasons. They start out as polar opposites. Leia is the idealistic woman who's fighting on the front lines to avenge her home planet and restore democracy to the galaxy. Han Solo is the dashing rogue with a mercenary streak. Brought together by Luke Skywalker, they argue viciously with each other, yet still see the good in each other. Han is attracted to Leia's beauty and her strength of character, while Leia eventually looks past Han's arrogance and selfishness to see his courage and good heart. The story of Star Wars portrays the grand war waged between the Empire and the Rebels. Han and Leia are both scarred by the conflict, fighting together and forging a bond of comradeship and love. It makes the end of Return of the Jedi all the more emotional and fulfilling. The grandness of Star Wars wouldn't work half as well without the humanness of the individual characters. Han Solo and Leia certainly fit the bill in this case. And my number one film couple is Beatrice and Benedict from Much Ado About Nothing. Of all the couples I've seen on screen, there is none that I love to watch more than Beatrice and Benedict. Both of them are intelligent, witty, and so vocally in support of the single life that you just know they're going to hook up. Having known each other for what appears to be several years, their relationship starts out with barbed insults and battles of wits. These are hilarious to watch, but when the other characters hint at how each loves the other, seeing them admit their love for each other is simply adorable to watch. This is clearly something that's been under the surface for a while. Of course, even though they admit it to themselves, they're still too proud to admit it to the other. But eventually it comes out, and they declare their love for each other in front of a cheering crowd. Now, some people will say that their earlier declarations of singleness and their original intellectual battles of wits will be horribly affected by them declaring their love for each other, but the thing about it is, I don't think those aspects are going to change much. They're still going to bicker, and they're going to try to outwit each other, but you also know that they're crazy for each other. Even though they're technically the B-plot to Claudio and Hero's hookup, they are infinitely more interesting. And since several people have had their crack at portraying these two characters, I'm going to go specifically with Kenneth Branagh and Emma Thompson's portrayals. A genuine couple at the time, these two brilliant thespians bring in a depth of subtle affection which adds so much to when they finally declare their love. They make for what I can only describe as my favorite film couple. So, happy Valentine's Day to all you men and women out there. If you've found your SOs, then I'm happy for you. And if you haven't yet, well, it's just one more day in the year. You've got a lifetime to find someone you can be happy with.